Well, welcome, Katie. I'm here with Katie Pahls, who's the owner of Edinburg Auctions, and she made the switch to BidWrangler from a marketplace earlier this year and has offered to speak with us about that transition. So, Katie, thanks for being here.
Sure.
I wanted to kind of start with the big picture here. So, what made you even begin thinking about leaving a marketplace and moving towards a white label system?
I think the biggest thing, and we had been with a marketplace for since 2008. We'd been with that
Okay.
software company, which is a long time. We were
Yeah.
very loyal. The biggest thing that started me looking was my customer data.
Okay.
My I had customers telling me that different companies had reached out to them, and all of that was coming from said platform that we had been using. And my customer data was no longer my customer data. It was being shared with third parties, you know, uh, third party operations.
Sure.
And when I reached out to that company about that, and I said, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to be an issue for my customers. They said, no problem. We'll make sure that marketing doesn't happen. And that's not what happened. And
Okay.
we had for years built, 30 years we've been in business. I'm a third generation
Sure.
family. And we have really worked hard to build our customer database, and it kind of felt like you almost had a breach of data. And,
Sure.
customers were getting texts from random transportation companies, and there was just a lot of things that kind of pushed me in that direction. And when I started doing more research, I realized the benefits of not being in a marketplace.
Sure. Great. Well, when you made the decision to switch, what did your process look like? Who was involved? What concerns did you have? And what kind of finally pushed you over the edge to making that transition?
Well, it was mainly me.
Okay.
Of course, I talked about it with my employees, but
Sure.
at the end of the day, I was the one that had to make that decision. My dad is still a very active part of our business, but as far as those sorts of decisions, he's not interested in making any of those, or, even being on a computer, to be honest.
So walk me through the first few auctions after switching. Like what surprised you? What went better than expected? What was harder than expected? How did those first few auctions go?
Great. Great,
Okay.
actually. The hardest part of the transition for me was
Okay.
the software, was just learning the software, making the switch. When you've been with a particular software company for 20 plus, almost 20 years, it's very difficult to adjust and to learn a new software and learn a new skill. And, the older you get, the more set in your ways you get.
Sure.
So I would say that was personally the hardest part for me, and I don't think that had anything to do with the training or the help articles. I think it's just change is difficult to do. But
Sure.
I can't imagine. I have to sometimes open my old software and it just feels so antiquated.
Yeah. Yeah. What tools did you find that were helpful as you learned it? Did you have a bunch of training with people? Did you use the support articles? Was it kind of a combination, or what resources were most helpful to you?
So originally when I signed up with BidWrangler, I actually think it was not for 2025 to start. It would have been in the end of 2023, I think, is when I originally signed up with you.
Okay.
And I trained forever,
Okay.
but I just felt too nervous. I was too afraid to make the leap. And it wasn't because I didn't know the software. I was so afraid to leave a marketplace that I chickened out.
Huh.
And then the next year, I was like, I really have to do this. All my customers' data is being taken everywhere. Customers don't like it. They felt uncomfortable. The interface was hard to use. Customers were having trouble resetting their passwords. I couldn't reset their password. I
Sure.
couldn't help them. They didn't get password resets. And people want everything now. And when they have to call a 1-800 number for bidder support instead of being able to call me directly,
Yeah.
that started to become a big issue because that bidder support number was not monitored well. It was
Sure.
very difficult, especially with a big range of customers, uh, from young to old. You really need to provide that service, and they want that service from you as an auction company because
Mm,
that's who they're buying from. That's who
mhm,
they look to. I love the fact that my customers can call me. I
mhm.
can change their password. I can change their email. I could update their address from anywhere. Just the ease of that has been awesome. But I wish I hadn't chickened out that first year
Okay,
because it's been it's been great.
that's great. I imagine you probably retrained too after a year.
I
You
did.
probably needed some
I
retraining.
I did it, and you guys had kind of really worked hard on those help articles in the
Y-
meantime.
Okay.
Those, like, the videos that show you how to do everything were great, and watching those, like, there's a lot of times, even now, which I
Hmm.
know the software pretty well,
Sure.
sometimes I'll forget how to do something. I just
Yeah.
right click on the
Sure.
help and pop it up in a new window and type a search, and boom, I pretty much have it figured out, and there's a video how to do it.
I do the same thing every now and then when I'm doing sales demos. Someone will ask me a question, and you'd think that I just know the answer all the time, but I just pull up the support page.
Right.
Sometimes when they say, "Can you do this?" I'm like, "I don't know if I remember. Let me pull up the support article," and then,
Right, because there's so much to do in the
right,
software that you can forget how to do certain things in
right,
certain settings because there's so many different options.
great. Well, good. Well, tell me about the results. What changes did you see in the bidder behavior and the registration and sell through? Anything that made you realize, like analytics wise or numbers wise, that it was working?
Well, I will say I did, hire a company, like a marketing company to help me, and I was doing a lot of advertisement on my own, of course, when your auction company, years ago started with before the internet, you
Right,
learned how to advertise your business and do all those things. And I feel like that's just what we continually do now. We just push our business instead of a marketplace,
sure.
and I feel like I get a lot. I mean, we've always had a lot of repeat bidders, but I get a lot of compliments on how the software is easy to use, how they love that there's an app. They like that there's those push notifications, that they get a reminder. I've had customers tell me, "Well, I was sitting in my easy chair at 6:30
Right,
and good thing you sent that message. I'd have forgot." You
right,
know?
right.
So, eh, a lot of people like an app. And I
Yeah,
had a hard time with that at first too. I wasn't sure how that would go over, but that has went over very well. People really like it. And it's great that it's named after your business. You're not promoting someone else.
sure. Yeah, that's great. The notifications with the app, I think, are huge
Mhm.
because it's just a great way to be top of mind. And like you said, especially on certain types of auctions where someone might bid and then just kind of forget about it or not be outbid for a couple days. And then, even if they didn't write the end of the auction on their calendar, they still get that pop up on their lock screen and it keeps them
Right.
engaged in the sale, which is why we built it that way, is because we think that that actually works. And I'm glad to hear that's working for your bidders.
Mhm.
So you worked with a marketing company. It sounds like, was that something that you'd been doing before you made the switch as well, or was that someone you hired specifically when you made the switch?
I I decided to hire a marketing company because I knew I would be saving some money on some of the fees that I had been
Okay.
charged.
Okay.
So I thought, well, I'm going to reinvest this money into something, I didn't look at it as, "Oh, I'm doing this just to save money," because you might save some money,
Sure.
but I thought I'm going to reinvest this in our business instead of paying someone else to do it. I'm
Sure.
reinvesting in promoting our business and our auctions, and
Sure.
I think that's been helpful. I actually have had a couple people reach out to me, that have reached out to that marketing team,
Uh-huh.
and they're nervous about making the switch from a platform, or I don't know, a marketplace, excuse me,
Mark. Yeah.
to a white label. And I've said, try it. Hire these guys, make the switch, see what happens. And
Right.
they've joined you
Sure.
guys too.
Yeah. That's great. Um, did you make any changes aside from working with the marketing company? Are there any changes to just what you did, or did you kind of turn that over to them?
Um, marketing wise, I mean, I still do a lot of local marketing.
Okay.
I still do a lot of our ads. I have a lady who helps me design some ads, that sort of
Okay.
thing. But uh, I hired a company actually to handle my analytics as well,
Okay.
which is great because you can actually see it, and that's really grown.
Okay.
And you can see how long your customers are utilizing your website or how often they're visiting your website. And I guess maybe I didn't pay close enough attention to that. But when I go back and look at my analytics then versus now, they're
Mhm.
pretty different.
And those companies, the marketing and analytics company, you feel like they've had what they need from BidWrangler in order to do their job, in order to help you?
Yeah, it's actually great. If I wanted to, I can add them as a user,
Okay,
and after every auction, I mean, like they did, I've integrated some of uh, my website because you guys host my website now too. I
right.
have given them some things there because they suggested adding a blog to my website, which I still haven't done yet, but I'm working on, and
Alright,
some other things, because you guys built my website for me.
sure.
Um, but they suggested adding a couple other things that would kind of help you with your Google search results. And that's I'm glad that I hired them.
Okay,
That's been good. But yes, there's still a lot of things that fall on me, but it's nice to have some extra support with social media.
that's great. Good. Well, what were the toughest parts of making the switch? I mean, you've mentioned learning something new. Was that kind of the biggest thing, or was there anything else that kind of jumped out as being a challenge as you made the switch?
I wouldn't say there were real challenges.
Okay.
I would say the training was great. Like my employees who log all of our items in, they love the BW app in
Oh, the
comparison to
cataloging app.
yes, they
Okay,
love. And we actually used a cataloging app before, but it was difficult. I had to have it on a certain computer. I had to have a specific um, IP address, and everybody
okay,
had to log in. And now they have to log in, but it's an app on the phone,
sure, sure.
And we all just use iPhones or iPads to enter all of our stuff. But they love the cataloging app, and we do too. It's great.
That's great. So, what do you think the biggest payoff has been for you in terms of moving to a white label platform as you look at it kind of an overall switch?
Maintaining my customer data is huge. You
Okay,
know, I can see when they register, I can see if they've downloaded the app. It's easy to verify that their credit card has been verified.
mhm,
A huge thing for me is in this year, I've had a lot less customer complaints about how the software operates, about how the bidding app operates. Things are a little bit less glitchy, I
mhm,
think is a huge thing I dealt with before that I had to make excuses for, and I don't have to do that now.
sure. So it sounds
You know,
like you had a benefit. The customer data was one thing, but almost as an extra bonus to that, you find that the technology is more stable as well. It sounds like.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Having that app is so seamless for customers,
Sure,
and like I said, your customers trust you with their data. I mean, there's a lot of people who feel uncomfortable putting a credit card on the internet.
sure,
There is a lot of issues in 2025 and future with data, and that's really important that people feel as though their data is protected. And I tell them, your data is safe with me. I mean, I actually don't give my, marketing company a login to BidWrangler, not that I don't trust them, I wholeheartedly trust them, but
sure,
I tell my customers, "Nobody has access to your information," and I mean
sure,
that.
sure. That's great. So if another auction company owner came to you, which they do every now and then, because I know you've talked with a couple,
Yeah.
I've sent a couple potential clients your way. So and thank you for that.
You're
But if someone comes to you and is kind of nervous, what's the advice that you would give them as they make the switch?
I tell them I was nervous. I was so nervous that it took me a year to make the switch, so I
Sure,
fully understand that. I've been in your position, but, you know, a marketplace feels like renting an apartment.
sure,
Like you're just renting a space and you don't you don't it almost feels like you don't own your auctions. You're not in charge of them, and even now I'm on a couple auctioneer groups and I'm seeing more and more issues with that certain listings are being pulled down, certain things are being changed because of what they're selling. There was actually I noticed recently a cedar chest, not mine. I don't sell that
sure,
sort of thing, but that they said our cedar chests are getting pulled down because of some sort of restriction. And I'm like, boy, you don't really have a lot of control. anymore.
Sure. Sure.
You know, and not that networking is bad for auctioneers. I think networking is great for auctioneers. But I think it's difficult when uh someone goes to your website and then down below is an advertisement for another auction company who might have something similar. So it kind of is taking your customers away from your business and sending them to maybe another auction that has a similar item. I did notice that as well.
Sure. So have you seen an impact on, when we talk about the big picture, has your hammer price been impacted? Has it gone up, down, stayed the same? Where have you seen that as you've made the transition?
Well, I think that's a kind of a difficult question because of
Sure.
like I don't sell the exact same items every time. I will say I have seen no decline,
Okay.
nothing less, but when you have a particular item that's really important to you, for instance, we sold a large trash truck and I was nervous about that this year because I had sold another one and I knew what it sold for and I thought, "Oh, boy, this is really a test." And it did just as well as the one I sold on the marketplace.
Great.
And I got paid faster.
That's nice. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, is there anything else you kind of want to share with people, or that we didn't get to today, or we kind of covered the stuff? Is there anything else you kind of want to say?
I think the only thing would be that if you're nervous, don't be nervous.
Okay.
I can understand the feel of being nervous and I understand why you're nervous. But, you know, I think as auctioneers, you built that business or my family built that business and it still is your business. You can market it. You did it without a a marketplace. You don't need a marketplace. Push your business,
Sure.
like if you build it, they will come sort of thing.
Sure. Well, great. Well, thanks, Katie. I really appreciate you sharing some of your experience. We're really glad to have you on board as a customer. It's a pleasure to work with you, and we
I don't
wish
know if
you.
we would all say that in the beginning.
Look,
I was I was a
I'm the
least
sales
favorite
guy.
customer. And I actually have to apologize because with my last company, we did everything in caps, so that
Yeah.
everything looked clean because there was no editing. That's actually something else that's great that you can edit how your listings look. You can add links. You can edit the text. You can have certain colors. All of those things were not possible before. And so before I just typed everything in all caps, and when I
Oh yeah.
would email your customer support, it would be in all caps,
All
so they always
caps.
thought I was yelling at them. And I had to transition to, "Oh, I can type like a normal human being again."
Oh, that's funny. Well,
So, but
I'm the sales guy, so I always get to have the I always have the pleasant conversations, right? It's the people
yeah,
down in support where someone calls them panicking that something's going on. They're the people that are in the intense zone down there. I have the easy conversations.
that's something I should add in. Your support is phenomenal.
That's great.
And the previous company I was with used to have great support. That was another huge thing that happened. Like I said, with that customer based support, and then even like our software based support, just to be able to get a human was impossible. And
Mm,
you would just get somebody who would take a message, and it was it was more difficult. I shouldn't have to go on Facebook to get support from a
sure,
company I'm paying. I
sure.
should be able to call and or email. You guys are awesome with your emails. If you
Yeah.
send that help at I think it's help desk or help at
Help desk. Yeah.
bidwrangler.com. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's like you guys respond right away, which is awesome,
Oh,
especially
that's
when you
great.
just have a quick question.
Yeah, we try to do that. If it's a quick question that we can answer in 3 minutes, why make you wait if we can hop on and just shoot your answer real quick? We try to just be practical about that. There's no need to leave something like that sitting there.
Right. And all the times I've called, which I can tell you, there was a lot. I think there was only ever one time that it was actually in an auction that I was kind of panicking when I had first switched
Uh-huh.
because I was struggling with doing something with the invoice and I didn't know if invoices would go out automatically or if I had to email. I just couldn't remember. And so
Sure.
I even called that after hours and boom, right away
Oh
somebody
yeah.
called me. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. So customer support, awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had one call with the emergency line. It was like 1 in the morning on Thanksgiving morning, and Jeff answered the call, but it was a company from from New Zealand that was having trouble. So every now and then we get those calls at the most random times ever on holidays, and the support team is great about picking those up, even if it's in the middle of the night. Which thankfully yours do not tend to be in the middle of the night, so that's
Right.
easy compared to it's easy
Yeah.
compared to some of the international support we do.
Yeah, so I guess, I think people are nervous to make the switch, but I think once they make the switch, there's no looking in the rear view.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Katie. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
As
Josh.
always, as always, feel free to reach out to us if there's any way we can help. We love to partner
You know
with you
I will.
to support you. So, um, yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks, Katie.
Yep. Thanks, Josh.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.